Welcome to Crossroads Church. Whether you're connecting online, in person, or on demand, thank you for making this time part of your week. If you are new to Crossroads, you might be asking yourself, what is this place all about? Well, it's pretty simple. Peace on earth. We are an open and affirming community of people committed to following the peacemaking path of Jesus. And this peacemaking path leads us to focus our work on rewriting what we call the 5 unacceptable truths. These unacceptable truths are 5 realities that hinder human flourishing and destroy peace on earth. Together, we work to replace spiritual emptiness with spiritual vitality, poverty with physical and financial flourishing, fear of the other with inclusion and affirmation, illiteracy with education and opportunity, and modern-day slavery with freedom. This is what we mean when we say, hope is here. Over the next hour, we will experience the divine mystery together as we sing a few songs, listen for wisdom, and share in communion so that we might leave here inspired and equipped to follow the peacemaking path of Jesus in our everyday, normal lives. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Crossroads. It's so great to see you all here. If you are willing and you're able, will you please stand and join us as we sing together? Headstrong, grounded in love. I'll forgive what's already done. Let it in, let it go. Hope carries on. I am already home. A new life comes from seas below, and in the dark, the light can grow to the great beyond and the great unknown. My soul at peace, I am already home. I am already home. And it's so sweet surrender. And it's a sweet surrender. Let it in, let it go. I could use a friend through the joys and sorrow, to the great beyond and the great unknown. I'll let my spirit ascend. I am already home. Ring the bells, this time I mean it. Bid the hatred fare thee well. Give back the pieces of my Jesus. Take your counterfeit to hell. Bang the drums, this means war, but not the kind you're waiting for. We say mercy won't be rationed here, that's what we're fighting for.
Love is very loving more than what the hell is loving even for. If we can't sing it loud enough, we'll keep on adding voices high.
Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bells. Move your feet, you tiny people. You've been hiding for so long behind your statues and your steeples. Does that hit too close to home? Well, I got faith to move the mountain and to watch the mountain move. Time for words to fall like thunder, the sounds of justice breaking through.
Love is very loving more than what the hell is loving even for. The world laughs and the martyrs sing, but love breaks through the coffin rain.
Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bells, ring the bells. You call me boy instead of son, and I ain't the only one. Was in the throne room of a kingdom where I found that I belong. Lying scared to face a fortress, I have seen them fall before. With broken bones you built it, but it crumbled board by board.
Spirit loving more than what the hell is loving even for. We can't sing it loud enough, we'll keep on adding voices high.
Ring the bells, 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 ring the bells. This time I mean it. Bid the hatred fare thee well. Give back the pieces of my Jesus. Take your counterfeit to hell. Right. Well, hello, everybody. You can take a seat. Welcome to Crossroads once again, and happy Father's Day. Special shout out to my dad. Happy Father's Day, Dad. And while we're talking about Father's Day, John, master of the dad joke, in my humble opinion, has graciously allowed us to take a sneak peek into his perfection of the writing of the dad joke process. So check this out.
I woke up feeling like a part of me was missing. I know I'm a dad, but what does any of that mean? Without the ability to make my kids cringe with the perfect dad joke. It's time to actually do something with my life. It's time to get creative and make a joke that others will tell their kids for generations to come. Ingredients for the perfect dad joke. 1 pun or play on words, a pinch of silliness, a generous amount of wit, a dash of cringe, optional but highly recommended, a delivery with a straight face. I've searched the internet for days now for inspiration. I feel like nothing is hitting the dad spot yet. Why don't eggs tell jokes? Because they might crack up. Too obvious. What did the buffalo say to his son when he left for college? Bye, son. Not bad, but will my kids even know what a bison is? Do they even teach that in school? I worked day in and day out with barely any sleep. Were these jokes just not funny, or was I too tired? I used to play piano by ear, but now I use my hands instead. Well, okay, now we're getting somewhere. All of a sudden, I felt like I had it. The right amount of exaggerated humor with a touch of relevance that even my kids could relate to. My pen hit the pad and I felt like I smiled for the first time in weeks. Here goes nothing. Time to test this dad joke on my unsuspecting kid.
Hey Dad, so
just pondering the mysteries of the universe. But, can I tell you a joke?
Yeah, I guess.
Mission accomplished. I managed to make him cringe in the best way. It was one glorious moment. Being a dad is all about finding joy in the little things. To all the dads out there, enjoy your dad joke making adventures, and may your puns be delightfully cringeworthy.
Oh man, that was great. I don't know what the joke was. Did anybody read lips? Anybody catch what it was? I guess it's just gonna be a cliffhanger. Well, good morning. Welcome to Crossroads. Happy Father's Day to all the dads and father figures out there. My name is Brooke Weens, and I'm the associate pastor here at Crossroads, and it's lovely to see you all on this beautiful Sunday. And I just have a couple of things to share with you all this morning. As you came in, you should have received a program. If you didn't, please just raise your hand. One of our room hosts will come around and give you one of those. And if you are new here, welcome. You'll find a few things in that program helpful, and I just want to point them out to you. So first, could everybody take out that Connect card? Just pretend I have one in my hand. It's rectangular, white Connect card. Yes, that's in my hand right now. And if you are new here or if you attend every single week, we fill out the Connect card every week. So if you are a regular attender, you can just put your name, your email address, and check the box regular attender. But if you are new here, please check the box new here and fill out as much information as you feel comfortable sharing. And if this is your first time with us this morning, we do have a gift for you. It is an amazing book called The God We Never Knew. And it's especially helpful if you find yourself deconstructing ways of thinking about God that maybe were handed to you that no longer make sense to you. So you can grab that as you leave the auditorium today. There's a copy on all of the tables and as you exit. Or better yet, you can come visit me. I will be in the atrium after the service under the Fresh Perspectives banner. And I'd love to hear your story, answer any questions you might have, and I can also give you one of those good books. But now that summer is here, it is here, thank goodness. Beautiful summer. I love summer. And we have our summer teaching series. It is back by popular demand, and it is called You Asked For It. We had so much fun with this last summer that we knew we wanted to do another round of it this summer. And so in this summer teaching series, it's going to be launching in July. Our teaching team will be taking the time to answer your burning questions. I know you have them. I've heard you all whispering out in the atrium. And so whatever burning questions you might have about faith, Jesus, sin, the Bible, prayer, whatever it might be, you name it, no topic is off limits. So submissions for the You Asked For It teaching series, they're still open, but only for one more week. So get your questions in. It's as simple as just writing down your question on the back of that Connect card. So write down your question or maybe sermon topic, whatever it might be, on the back of it. Our teaching team will take a peek at a few of those. Maybe yours will be picked. Maybe it'll turn into a whole series like Hellbent did, right? And so you'll also find a request form in your Crossroads app. So if you're more tech savvy, you want to save the trees, you can use your app and you can submit your questions there as well. So get your submissions in. It'll be shaping our new series, the questions you have, and our series will launch on the first Sunday in our new Metro Lux location. So I'll have more about that kind of transition. I know we're in the midst of that right now, our transition over to the Metro Lux. But that's all that I have for you now. So I'm going to invite Ryan up for a short little chit chat. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Brooke. And do me a favor, welcome Kia out as well. Where's Kia? She's going to join us here. There she is. So we want to take a second. How many of y'all know we are in transition mode? Yeah, lots of transitions. And one of our transitions is Kia's made a decision in life vocationally to step away from some of the things that you're doing here. And so I know. That's what I said when it happened. I cried for 4 days. But before we get to that, like, you've been around this place for quite a while, and you've done quite a few different things. Like, give us the litany. Like, when did it all start for you?
Yeah, so I was unemployed, and I had a 6-month-old who now he is almost 9, if you're doing some math. I got a phone call on like right before New Year's Eve day, so like December 31st, and it was a buddy of mine, and I had heard that he was working at a church, and I didn't know much about it. And he was like, hey, we're desperate. We don't have any musicians because it's a holiday weekend. Can you come in? We've got this other guide. It would just be the 2 of you. Can you do some music? And I was like, well, I've got nothing else going on. So that's literally what it was like. Well, because I know what it's like to be at a church. I've been working in churches my whole adult life. So like, I know what that feels like to be desperate. And it's an
awesome feeling.
Not everybody can
Thanks for leaving us with that.
Right, not everybody can step up into a music role. So I was like, okay, you're desperate, sure, I can help you out. And it was this church called Crossroads, and it had this campus in Fort Collins, which is where I live. I live in North Fort Collins. And so I was like, sure, I can help you out. And so that turned into, hey, can you help us out a little more often? Our person is transitioning away from this, and so we need somebody. And I was like, sure, I've got nothing else going on. And so that turned into, I became the on-staff music director at the Fort Collins campus of Crossroads Church. This was back in beginning of 2018, I think. And so I did that, worked with some of the band members that you still see on stage every now and again. It was a lot of fun stepping into just a different type of music. I'd never used in-ear monitors. I had never used like a click and all of the things, like all of the technology things that are normal. That was new for me, stepping into that and learning it. Long story short, the Fort Collins campus was closed, and so Crossroads knew that I was obviously on staff and losing my job, essentially. And so they said, hey, we've got this other administrative role. It's like 15 hours a month. Do you want to do it? I was like, yes, sure. And so I very minimally was working 15 hours a month doing like some administration for a specific class series kind of a thing. Ryan came on staff in the process of all of that, and they said, hey, we need somebody who's gonna be like an executive assistant. Can you do that? And I was like, sure, like I can do that. And in the meantime, I was still like volunteering in the band here, just as a volunteer, not every Sunday. Actually, my first Easter, I was thinking about this, I didn't even sing. I was in the back line on keyboard on my very first Easter here on this stage. My role as Ryan's assistant turned into, hey, we need somebody who can be a communications coordinator. So taking on some of the more communications, editing, writing, that type of thing. And I said, sure, I guess I can do that. That turned into, hey, we need a communications director. Can you do that? Mind you, like, I have a degree in Bible and religion. So figure that one out. But I can do these things, and I am not scared of learning, right? I'm not scared of stepping into something new and learning something that I don't already know. And so I said, sure, I'll be your communications director. That was back in 2021. And then in 2023, I was having a conversation with Ryan on a Sunday morning, and he said, hey, I think we're gonna need a music director. Can you do that next week? literally from one week to the next, like, this role is gonna be vacated. Can you do it next week? I was like, sure. Like, obviously I had done that for a long time, but I had never stepped into that particular role here in the Loveland campus at Crossroads. And so I said, sure, I can do that. I can get you through a season. Because again, I know what it's like to be desperate. And so that was 2023. And so now we're looking at like more than 2.5 years later. And it's been a joy. It's been a joy to work with the band and to help the band grow and to be in the planning, behind the scenes aspect. I was doing that before I even stepped into the music role. Like basically the whole time I've been on staff here, I've been on like the creative team working on stuff. So it's been fun. It's been really great.
Yeah. And so you kind of came to a decision around the work you're doing here, and maybe walk us through that journey and what led to this like moment in time and these decisions and what that looks like for you in the future.
Yeah, so I am at this season in my life where I'm just at the mercy of my 3 kids. And if you have kids who are similar, I've got a kid entering high school, I have a kid entering middle school, and then I have another kid in elementary school. And they're the most wonderful kids in all of the land, but they're busy, and it is real. And I think I've heard this from other parents who've walked in this stage, and I didn't really believe it, but it is like buckle up. Just in terms of like having a flow chart, getting 3 kids to 4 different places at the same time. Yes, that's a thing. 3 kids in 4 different places. And with my job being 20 miles away from my house, and then just the driving back and forth, getting kids to all of the things and all of the appointments and all of the sports, and missing events because I have work hours that I need to be present for in times when there might be a ballet recital or there might be a football playoff game or those types of things. I was feeling increasingly really torn. Like when I'm here, I love being here, and I'm also just desperate to be there and be present and ready for my kids. And so, it just, I finally realized like the church is coming to this big transition. We're gonna have 6 weeks of no live music. We're putting our copier in storage for a little while. So there is a lot of, there's a lot of transition going on here, and it made me realize, like, even though I may not be ready to walk away from the week in, week out, Sunday morning, constantly present here, this probably is the right timing for the organization. There's no other time in a church where Sunday doesn't come every 7 days. You know, and so like, spoiler alert, we're not gonna have live music right away at the Metrolux. It takes a little while to do some sound engineering and work out a plan. And so like for a music director to walk away and you've got 6 weeks of time, I felt like I had to make the decision for right now, even though I may not be like perfectly like see ya. But
we haven't offended you enough to
right.
give us the bird and walk away.
I'm not mad. I don't have another job lined up, but it just felt like the right timing, just in terms of a transition that's a gentle transition for everybody.
And you do all the communications things as well, and my understanding is you're going to still be doing some of that in the near future, and
Don't
see
get
as
too
things
excited.
happen. I'm not getting excited, but maybe we might see, your name might show up here or there.
Yeah, I'm not going away. I'm not moving. I'm not going to be knocking on the door of the big church up in Fort Collins saying, "Hey, I'm a musician. Can I come play for you?" Like, this is my church. This is my community. I need to step away from being present on campus always.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Kia, you have been, like, obviously in the story, and everybody can see, like, you've led us well, you've served this community so well. I've said this to you, and you're a person who is easy to trust implicitly. Like when you say you're going to do something, you do it well. You've advanced our communications. The work you've done with our musicians and our band and this ministry has been phenomenal in creating community. And you could ask any of the people who participate in that, like what that's been like for this season. And so you've done that well. And funny story, when I first came here, we got together, I met with all the staff members, and I'll never forget this. Like Kia looked right at me and she was like, I do not want the music job. That's exactly what she's like. I don't want that. She named who's doing it. I was like, I have no desire. The rhythm of that, the schedule, I don't want to. And then I think it was like 3 or 4 years after that, I was like, hey, what do you think about doing that job? Even if it's just for a season, So, I mean, the truth is that coming into this, I think we all kind of knew, we felt like what a joy and gift to get your leadership in this season, knowing that there was a lot of things in the background. So you've done that so well for us. My question is what can we do for you? Like, how can we as your community who've been the recipient of all of your gifts and talents, how can we support you in this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I've been pondering a lot in all of this, this is not my first transition out of a church. This is my first transition doing it on my terms and because of my own choice. Every other time it's been a hard break. And I have gone through the pain and heartache of losing a community because of that transition. And so as I've been thinking about what I want this to look like and what I want this to feel like, don't be a stranger. Like, I'm not going away, I'm not moving, and you're still gonna see me in music videos, I'm still gonna be involved in some things super behind the scenes for a time being, and until I get a new job, I have to work, right?
Which we'll be praying against that, but that's fine.
Thank you for that. But my band, the people that you see up here, these are all dear friends, and we have walked through life together, and we've gone through a lot of crazy life changes and just been in each other's lives for a long time. Being on a volunteer team is really cool because you have the opportunity to get to know people like that. I was a volunteer on this team for a long time before I led it. And so I don't want it to feel like, oh, I can't call Kia, or, I can't text her because whatever. Don't be weird. Don't make it weird, people.
Don't make it weird. I love it.
Don't make it weird. So I guess that's what I'm hoping for. I'm not, like I said, I'm not looking for another church community. I just may not be around all the time because I'm at
capacity.
Why do they make football playoff games for 8-year-olds on a Sunday morning? Can we talk about that for a second?
I know, right? I love it. I love it. Well, I know, again, just super appreciative, Kia, of everything. And I think when we have folks that are on staff and are very visible, it's important that we have conversations like this around visibility, because people, if you just disappeared, people are like, what happened to Kia, right? And so that's one of the reasons why we have these kinds of conversations. How many of y'all would still enjoy seeing Kia in our music videos, and around? Love it. Wonderful. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I was not happy. Still not happy. But I think one thing we've always said with people that are on our team together is that people are what's important. You're important. You are far more important in what is best for your family and your life and your future and your health, and all of that is way more important than a role here. And so while we're super grateful and sad, we know that it's all going to work out, and we want the best for you, and we're super grateful. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
Can you give Kia a great big hand? And Kia, you can help throw this transition now, right? So we're going to cleanse the soul palette because we're all like, this sucks. But we're going to move forward in today. And we've got a song here that, if you've been around, we're in a Hellbent series, and the bumper to that series has been this song. And Drew's actually going to give us the joy of the whole song today, not just a little clip of it. And the song really deals with the challenge of what happens when we die.
Yeah, it's leaning into just the mystery of all of it, and relationships are what matter.
Right.
Yep.
So take it over, Drew.
Someday you will die, but I'll be close behind. Follow you into the dark. No blinding light or tunnels to gates of white. Just our hands clasped so tight, waiting for the hint of a spark. If heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the nose on their vacancy signs. If there's no one beside you when your soul embarks, then I'll follow you into the dark. In Catholic school, as vicious as Roman rule, I got my knuckles bruised by a lady in black. I held my tongue as she told me, son, fear is the heart of love. So I never went back. If heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the nose on their vacancy signs. If there's no one beside you when your soul embarks, then I'll follow you into the dark. And you and me have seen everything to see, from Bangkok to Calgary, and the soles of your shoes are all worn down. The time for sleep is now, but it's nothing to cry about, 'cause we'll hold each other soon in the blackest of rooms. If heaven and hell decide that they both are satisfied, illuminate the nose on their vacancy signs. If there's no one beside you when your soul embarks, then I'll follow you into the dark. And I'll follow you into the dark.
Thank you, Drew. I'll follow you into the dark, right? It's, death is challenging. End of sermon, right? I mean, it could be the shortest sermon ever, right, MJ? Your hands were not nearly as tired from me talking. Well, good morning. It's good to see everybody. If you're a guest, my name is Ryan, the lead pastor here at Crossroads Church. And we're so glad to be together, and we're transitioning, and all this great stuff is happening. But today, we're wrapping up our series that we've been in called Hellbent, where we've been exploring this concept of hell, how it has been used to control and fear. I love the line in that song that said that fear is the foundation of love, or something to that effect, and the person walks out, right? But yet many of us kind of know that that's really how a lot of religion thrives. The truth be told, a lot of churches grow. One thing I know for sure is you want to increase giving and attendance, just throw in a little fear, and it's amazing what can happen, but it's unhealthy and it really is challenging to us. So we want to wrap up this kind of conversation today. I want to bring hell and fathers into conversation today. How y'all feel about that one? So I came across a song a few months ago, and I loved it, and it's a haunting song. It convicts me, it gives me hope, it offers me grace. I feel God when I listen to it. The song has brought me to tears at times when I'm just out on walks, passing people, I'm just crying, written by a young woman named Maddie Zom. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of her, but she grew up kind of playing worship music in church, and she taught guitar in special education programs. She was actually on American Idol one season. I'm not sure which season it was, but she was on American Idol, made it to the top 50, and she's very open about her story. She's a queer woman who has an amount of religious trauma, working through that, growing up in the church and being a part of music. She talks about her own relationship with her body image and what the culture has said to her about loving herself and her weight and those types of things. She writes about all of this. In my opinion, I think she has a very prophetic voice into our world. I think she's a voice of challenge, of hope, and healing for many. And she wrote this song called If It's Not God. And it's this really deeply personal song that really speaks to her choosing to believe the voice inside of her head, the voice inside of her, instead of the voice inside of her church. And so it brings together, believe it or not, these two themes of hell and Father. Could you imagine, right? Brings together this idea of fire, this imagery, and Father. And if it's okay with you, I'd like to read the lyrics to you. I'm not going to sing it, all right? But I would like to read the lyrics to you, all right? And just let them soak in. So here's how it starts. It says, be pretty and don't make it look like you're trying. Told to be Esther when I felt like Goliath. When they were wrong, I could never keep quiet. I searched for the truth and had faith that I'd find it. And then she writes this, set myself on fire, let myself be the liar. And then here's the chorus. All of the Sundays I worried I'd disappoint my mom because I never understood some types of love being wrong. Something inside of me was always steering left. And then here's the haunting question. What father picks a few just to leave the rest? I heard a voice inside my head. It disagreed. And so if it wasn't God, well, thank God it was me. Second verse says, well, they called me a sinner when I was a saint, hiding in her bedroom, praying depression away, killing herself for eternal life and losing her interest to be a good wife. Set myself on fire. I let them call me the liar. All of the Sundays I worried I'd disappoint my mom because I never understood a type of love being wrong. Something inside me was always steering left. Here's that question again. What father picks a few just to leave the rest? And I heard a voice inside my head. It disagreed. So if that wasn't God, thank God it was me. And then the bridge is so great. It says this, if it was God, then I don't have to worry. He'll know why I left, why I ran in a hurry. So either way I choose, I'm not wasting my life because the voice in my head has always been right. And then she gives the chorus one more time with one small twist. It says, all the Sundays I worried I'd disappoint my mom because I never understood a type of love being wrong. Something inside me was always steering left. And then she says this, no father picks a few just to leave the rest. And that's the line. No father picks a few just to leave the rest. The truth is, Father is quite a loaded word. It's a challenging word for some of us. It's a joyful word for some of us. It's a tangled knot word. And it's a tangled knot word in our real fleshy life with biological fathers, father figures, people in our lives who have supported us. And if that's you today, if it's a complication, I understand. I understand that this topic could be a tough one. And so I really do want to say to you, exercise self-care. If there's something about this idea, this topic that produces anxiety and stress and strain, and you need to step out, you need to hit the pause button if you're listening, please do that. Slow down. Don't feel like you need to stay present in a conversation that's just drawing up too much. The reality is the statistics speak a lot to the truth about the conflict that we have with parents. And some of us, these statistics are not just statistics, they're real life lived experiences. So according to researchers in the Parenting Across Cultures project, roughly 25% of societies worldwide tend to exhibit some degree of mild to severe parental rejection, and often they treat it as a culturally acceptable thing. 25% across the world. In the US, 7 to 10% of adults, they talk about having children and they report experiencing these significant ongoing rejections from parents. I think right now the statistic is that 25% of young adults are in conflict or estranged from parents. June is Pride Month. And June, as Pride Month, is a moment that reminds us to listen to queer voices, to understand the experiences of queer people, to understand how culture has treated to understand how the church has treated, to bring visibility and to celebrate the diversity. But it's important that we recognize that the experiences of queer bodies within every kind of harm that takes place in society is exaggerated. This idea of parental rejection within the queer community is phenomenally larger. There was a study that interviewed LGBTQ plus teens, and they had been kicked out of their homes by religious parents. And they found that about 90% reported that they were kicked out of their homes explicitly because of their parents' religious beliefs. LGBTQ youth reported hearing that their parents used religious language to say negative things about their queerness were twice as likely to attempt suicide than compared to those who did not. It's complicated. And here's the thing, like parent and adult estrangement is often a gendered phenomenon. So in a recent study that was done here in the United States, about 26% of the respondents, they reported estrangement from fathers compared to 6.3% from mothers. Additionally, gay, lesbian, bisexual adult children are statistically more likely to experience father-child estrangement compared to heterosexual individuals. The word father is complicated. And Father's Day is complicated. And so when you think about your own life, let me ask you this question. What meaning comes to your heart when you hear the word father? Father is a symbol, right? Stands for something in our lives. It produces meaning. What comes to you? What do you do with that feeling? What meaning is found in the word father for you? Maybe if the experience is or was a painful one, what do you do with that? Maybe the experience is amazing. Maybe that experience has ended through death or through some type of estrangement, some type of death, let's say. What do you do with it? And what do you do with it in a faith tradition like ours that the word father is everywhere in it? Like you just can't get away from it. And there's, I think, healthy things about the word in our tradition. There's unhealthy things that get attached to patriarchy and get misused. But what do we do? I mean, the word father is one of the most frequently used metaphors in the Gospels as we think about what it means and to be God and to interact with the divine. And I like to, when this happens, when we start talking about a concept, for me, I just like to say, well, to the best of my understanding, what did Jesus mean when he said Father? What did that word mean for Jesus? And so one of the best places to look to explore the idea of what Jesus meant by really a life lived in relationship to God, what Jesus' own understanding of God was, where do we look for that? Well, the Sermon on the Mount is a great place for that. Matthew chapters 5-7 give us this condensed, Matthew gives us probably a whole history of a tradition of this teachings of this rabbi in these 3 chapters. You want to know the ethics of Rabbi Jesus, Matthew 5-7 is probably in it. Matthew crafts it certainly in a way in his narrative, but it gives us a great picture of probably pretty accurate. What did this historical Jesus who walked this earth, who had disciples, who followed him as a rabbi, what did he teach? What did he expect of them, right? What was his yoke for them that he would place on them? And this Sermon on the Mount, if you're familiar, or if you're not familiar, it begins with what are called the Beatitudes, right? Maybe you've heard of those, blessed are the poor, blessed are the meek, right? All of those things. And that, I thought today would be a good place to start with one of the Beatitudes that is fundamental to our identity as a community of faith. What everyone is invited into here. What we are evolving into and what we're trying to be as a community. I thought, let's start with this. This is what, for me, as a leader who is responsible for spiritual care and spiritual formation, what I want to see in my own life and what I want to see in the life of folks that I pastor, what it looks like, what it means, I think, to have a life that's hidden in the mystery of Christ, that Bible language, that language that we get from Paul, to be hidden in Christ Jesus. We find it in Matthew 5:9. I hope many of you can quote this one. It's an easy one. If it showed up on the test, everybody should be able to get this one if you've been around here a few times. Blessed are the, for they will be called. Nice. 70% of you pass. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Notice there's no gendered language here for the parental role. It's just God, children of God. And here's the thing, children, you would identify children in antiquity because children would honor the parents' path. They would follow their parents' path, right? This was not a world where you had endless opportunities ahead of you. What would you like to major in, Johnny? Where would you like to go to college? What state would you like to live in? These were not realities that existed for peasant folks that lived in rural Galilee. You had a family tradition. You followed in that tradition. You brought honor to your parents. You brought glory to them by following in their path. And they would know, oh, that's so-and-so's kid. They do X, Y, and Z. That's so-and-so. So there's this path that you would follow. And so in Matthew chapter 5, in the whole of the Sermon on the Mount, we get this really interesting statement where Jesus picks back up with this idea of children of God. Like what is the path that makes you recognizable as a child of his God? Now, I know that sounds a little weird when you're in a tradition 2,000 years removed that claims Jesus as divine of some sort. But you've got to remember that as Jesus is talking, there's no possible way that anybody who heard Jesus thought of Jesus as God. It is impossible. There's no way that a highly monotheistic cultural religious system of first century Judaism, that there would ever be this idea, oh, we're standing with God. No. Like Jesus had a vision and understanding of God, and he portrayed that. And in Matthew 5, he picks back up that language of child of God. And you know what's interesting? He doesn't say, it's not the stuff about prayer. It's not the stuff about giving. I wish it was the stuff about giving, honestly. Just joking. Man, uptight today. Okay. Matthew chapter 5, here's what Jesus says. You've heard it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. Jesus is saying, listen, you've heard it said you are to categorize people, right? There are different types of people in this world. And you have enemies and you have neighbors, and you love the neighbor and you hate the enemy. That's what you do. That's what you've heard. But I say to you, love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. Isn't that fascinating? So he's picking back up on this language of children of God. He moves to the gendered understanding of Father for lots of reasons culturally. And Jesus is saying, listen, loving enemies is a core element to the peacemaking path. Like if blessed are the peacemakers, they will be called children of God, you have to come here and say, oh, so if I'm going to be a peacemaker and I'm going to be a child of God, and loving your enemies and praying for them makes me a child of God, then loving enemies is a core element to that peacemaking path. And then Jesus goes on and he says something really, really insightful. He says, for he, God, makes his son. Now, remember, this language is patriarchal and gendered. God is genderful, okay? Jesus is drawing on a gendered image, which is perfectly fine to do, as long as we don't get caught up in it. And notice that's a possessive, right? His son, right? The son, all of creation is God's in Jesus' understanding. He makes his son rise on the evil and the good. Jesus uses the categories that would have been known. Like we're talking about evil, neighbors, all that good stuff. Here's the deal. Guess what? The sun is God's. It rises on the evil ones and it rises on the good ones. And the rain, which we think of rain oftentimes as a bad thing, but in an arid desert, like rain was a good thing, right? And it rains on the righteous and the unrighteous. The categories that you've made up, the sun shines on all of them, the rain falls upon them. And Jesus is saying God's love is beyond your categories. God's love is beyond your understanding of good and evil. Sun and rain are gifts. They're provisions that the father of the household of earth provides to all of his children, right? And that rain and that sun shines and the rain falls, and it's regardless of your judgments of who's evil, who's not. And Jesus is saying your love has to be the same if you want to be called children of God. Now, you remember the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Way back in Genesis, have you ever heard that story? Adam and Eve running around naked, first nudist beach ever. And our creation myth tells, one of our creation myths in our tradition tells us that there's this garden and there's this tree that's planted in the garden. It's called the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and you're allowed to eat of every tree, just not that one. Because if you eat of it, you will surely die. That's the story. And what do? Eat it. Of course they eat it. Who's not going to eat that, right? That's all you can think about, right? Got all these trees, everything out there. It's like, but I wonder what that is, right? Now, we do this all the time. Because when we think that we can parse who's worthy and who's not worthy, we're eating of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and we are bringing death to ourselves and to everybody around us. For Jesus, God the Father, right? God the Father sees all of it, and it's all worthy of love. It's all worthy of sun, and it's all worthy of rain. It's all worthy of grace. It's all worthy of hope. It's all worthy of provision of the household manager, the father, who's responsible for the care of the entire household. What father leaves some? No father does. Now, later in the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus talks about prayer, and he gives us what has become known as the Our Father or the Lord's Prayer. And it begins with our Father. That's the idea, right? This Our Father in heaven. Now, the key word is our. It's actually not Father. Father helps us understand what Jesus had in mind. The Father was the owner. The Father was responsible for the care of the entire household, of providing the daily bread for everyone. It wasn't that I'm going to have 12 kids and 11 of them are going to get fed and one of them's not. That's not what a good householder does. That's not what a good father does. And this prayer is fascinating. So Dominic Crossan, a Jesus historian and scholar, he wrote a book on this prayer. And he talks about in this book how this prayer is so beautiful because it's universal in nature. If you just pull this prayer out of its narrative context, almost any faith could pray this prayer. There's nothing intrinsically Christian about this prayer, or Islamic about this prayer, or Buddhist about this prayer, or Jewish about this prayer. It's very universal. Our Father, everybody's Father. God of all things, right? And it's all of these it's all this way of provision. And then it's living in that such a way. Now, the thing is this, as children of the household, you're to act in the same way. If God is seen in this metaphor as the provider, the one who's responsible for the provision of all people, because they're all God's children, then the children are to do the same, to distribute enough to everyone. Not to squander it on ourselves, collecting and hoarding, but living generously. Now, if you're how many Bible scholars do we have in the house? Come on, you can own it. Raise your hand up nice and high. You've read through it. I'll give that to you. You might know that there's the law of progenitor. Anybody ever heard of the law of progenitor? You're going to learn something new today. Useless, but new, okay? Listen, the law of progenitor says that the firstborn gets double. The firstborn gets double. Now, why is that? Why does the firstborn get double? Is it because that they're loved more by the father? In our world, that would be the case, right? Right? You got 3 siblings, or you and your sibling, your parents leave double to your sister, your brother, your non-binary sibling, whoever it might be. You're going to get a little upset about it. What, do they love me more? They love them more, they love me less? Did I do something? No. We think, we bring our mindset, but you have to remember, the firstborn becomes what? The responsible party for everything, for everyone. You didn't move away. Everybody lived in a compound. And so the firstborn takes the responsibility of the care and concern for the remainder of the household. The care and concern for a spouse or spouses, if you want to talk about biblical marriage, right? Some of you got that joke for Pride Month. Appreciate that. Those of you. Right, but they then have this response. So they were left double because they had far more than double the responsibility to care and provide for the rest of the household. Okay? So you got to keep that in mind. So Jesus is talking about this father image, all these things that are going to show up in a first century heart. Now, back to Matthew chapter 5. He says, he's talking, remember, you're going to be children of God. You got to love your enemies because God causes the sun to rain on everybody that we think is righteous, unrighteous. Now, if you love only the people who love you, like what reward is there in that? Don't even the tax collectors do the same? Those were the worst of the worst, by the way, to these folks that are listening. And the big question that Jesus is asking is, where's the honor, the joy, the payoff in caring only for those who share our values? The reward is found in the difficult stuff. The reward is found in the things that take forever to do. How many of you have ever tried something and you said, okay, this is going to take me 2, 3, 4, 5 years to accomplish, whatever it might be, right? And when you finish that, how amazing do you feel? Maybe you didn't finish it. Maybe you just feel terrible, right? Here's what I know about my life. The things that have taken me the longest, that have been the most difficult, they offer me the most reward. This bag that I brought with me today, this bag represents about 2 decades of my life. 2 decades of my life. And there were some moments that in this bag that represented 2 days, and it culminated with this little piece of article of clothing right here, right? This is what it culminated with, okay? So this is my black belt. All right? I know some of you are like, peacemaker, Ryan? Really? Feels a little contradictory. Okay. So I was probably 18 years old when I started training in martial arts, okay? I remember the day that I got my first degree black belt, right? Took years to get to that point. The test was probably 8 or 10 hours. I remember it being daylight when I started and dark when I finished. The next day I had to be at church. I was working in a church at the time, and my muscles were still all night. My muscles was just spasmed, right, from that test. But I can tell you right now, that was one of the best days of my life. And then for every stripe on the belt was that many years in between the next test. So from my first degree to my second degree was 2 years. Second degree to third degree was 3 years. Third degree to fourth degree was 4 years of training, teaching. But those tests were way easier. It was just time in grade. But that first one, oh my gosh. And when I think about the things that I've had to do in my life that take all this time, the reward isn't the belt, right? That's not it. Whatever, take it away. The reward is like you finish it, how you're changed by it, the impact you have on people's lives, how it impacted you. That's the reward, who you are on the other side of it. And it's the same way with loving our enemies. When you press through that difficulty, who you become in that effort is transformative. Jesus goes on, he says, if you greet only your brothers and sisters, are you doing anything different than anybody else? Don't the Gentiles do the same? If you're going to demonstrate the radical love of God that you have experienced only with those who agree with you, that's really not the love of God. Yet somehow, this is the love that we have assumed God gives out when we hold to literal understandings of hell. Somehow we just completely abandon what Jesus has taught to hold on to a literal understanding of hell. That this is the place where the enemies of God go. But yet Jesus says, wait, to be children of God, you got to love your enemies. Paul in Romans chapter 2, Paul believed that kindness leads to repentance. I don't agree with everything Paul wrote. I know. I don't know if I'm allowed to or not. But this I do. Like Paul says, it's the kindness that leads to repentance. Kindness changes our hearts. And I know for me, the people who I othered in the tradition that I grew up in, those people that showed me patience, that showed me love in the midst of my wrong thinkingness, of the doctrines that were exclusionary, those folks that showed me love led to my repentance. They led to my transformation. And it changed the things that I was participating in that were harming me and others. And the idea that God will cast people into a literal hell for eternity completely disregards Jesus' understanding of the Father's love for our enemies, the ones we classify. And then Jesus goes on and he says, be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. How many of you have ever heard that statement? Oh, we're called to be perfect as God is perfect. Yeah, man, that one was handed to me all the time on a silver platter of what movies you don't watch, what words you don't say. Has nothing to do with what Jesus is teaching here. What is perfection? Love of enemies. Whew, that does not grow attendance and giving. Turns out. Not a great church growth strategy. Love your enemy. Don't judge them. Not the eternal torture of them. Perfect love is not the eternal torture of people. It's not the exclusion of them from grace or love. It is love. That is perfection. And this is the scandal of Jesus. This is the scandal of divine love. This is what has the potential to actually make the Christian faith something beautiful. I'm not sure that it ever was, if I'm being honest, when we look at it historically and how as a religion of power and structure and colonialism, it has ever been this. Because here's the thing, to love your enemy, if we're being honest, it feels unfair, it feels unjust, it feels like evil wins, because I know what every one of you are thinking. What about Hitler? You're thinking about the latest president that you don't like or do like. You're thinking about whoever it might be at work. What about them? I get it. I get the complexity of that. I understand our heart desires for justice. But our knowledge of good and evil simply is this. Well, it just feels that the evil ones, the others, go to hell, and the good ones, us, go to heaven. And here's the thing. If we're going to take on that role of judging what is good and what is evil, that's poison. It's poisonous fruit. And we get it from the beginning of our creation myths. It's poisonous fruit. Oh, we miss so much of, let's argue 7 days of creation. Let's argue how old the earth is. And in all of it, we've missed the truth and the beauty of it. Is that every time you eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, every time you think that you are qualified to determine who is evil and who is good, you are producing death. I am producing death. I have done it. That's what we're saying. 1 point, some historians, some historians estimate that 1.6 billion people, according to some historians, have died from war and the fallout of war in the history of humanity. 1.6 billion. War is the ultimate expression of who's good and who's evil, who gets to live and who doesn't get to live. We can justify death. We can justify destruction. Yet Jesus, he understood the perfection of God, not in our standards of good and evil, but in love. The perfection is love. For God so loved the world. The sun shines on everybody. The rain falls on everyone. It's the same with love. So what is that love? What is it that we find in God, that we find in the living Christ? Well, as we come to the communion tables this morning, I think it's a great place to start with 1 Corinthians 13. If we're called to love our enemies, like what does it mean? Now remember, Paul is like dealing and addressing with arguments that are taking place in this Corinthian church about which gifts are better and which are not. He calls it childish behavior at the end, but he says this, if I speak in tongues of humans and have angels, but I don't have love, I'm a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have a prophetic power and I understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but I don't have love, I am nothing. And if I give away all my possessions, and if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient with enemies. Love is kind with enemies. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude towards enemies. I kind of have this thought that sending someone to a place of conscious eternal torture feels a little rude. Love doesn't insist on its own way. It's not irritable. It keeps no record of wrongs. I mean, the whole premise of an eternal conscious place called hell, the whole premise of judgment is a record of wrong that has to be kept. But love keeps no record of wrong. At some point, you got to reconcile these things, and you have to figure out which one you're going to choose, because they both can't exist. I choose love Because love doesn't rejoice in wrongdoing, but it rejoices in truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Are you catching that? Love bears all things. It bears the weight of evil and pain and injustice. It bears our desperate and misguided attempts at the knowledge of good and evil, a knowledge of which we can never have a broad enough perspective. Paul says love never ends. It never ends. Now, how can love never end and eternal conscious torment continue? It can't. You have to do some serious mental, theological gymnastics to make that one work. But as for prophecies, they're going to come to an end. As for tongues, they'll cease. As for knowledge, going to come to an end. And then we get this beautiful image that is like at the very heart of why you don't judge good and evil. For we know only in part. You got to be humble. We know only in part, and we prophesy only in part. But when the complete, when the fullness, when peace comes, the wholeness comes, the partial will come to an end, the lack will cease. And then he says this, when I was a child, yeah, I spoke like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child, but when I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. And here lies a very interesting thought. Is the concept of hell a very childish way of justifying our hate and our exclusion and our belief that we can be the judge of good and evil? Is there something to that desire of eye for an eye and tooth for tooth? And Paul says, for now, we see only a reflection. We see like in a mirror, but someday we'll see face to face. Now I know only in part, then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And this is why you don't eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Because our knowledge is partial and flawed, but love's knowledge is complete and perfect. So the sun shines on everybody, the rain falls on everybody. And now Paul says, these three remain, faith, hope, and love. And the greatest is love. And the greatest of the greatest is the love of enemy. Why is that? Because love creates hope, and hope can create faith. When we bring radical love into a space of hurt and harm and pain, hope can find its way into the darkest of circumstances. And so in your everyday peacemaking life, I want to give you two things today. I want to give you a warning and a wish. Here's my warning. Your understanding of God will determine your understanding of Father, and your understanding of Father will influence your understanding of God. They are correlated because of the tradition you're a part of. And here's the thing. If you understand and think of God as a father who will discard children, who will disown children into the fires of hell, you will have no problem doing that to your own children. Because if that's what God does, and if that's what keeps you on the straight and narrow, you will find that to be an acceptable way of loving people. It matters. And then your children or your grandchildren or your neighbors will become one of those statistics we talked about early on. But if the God that you follow, the God that you understand as Father, pursues and provides and loves and welcomes even enemies to the table, that's the kingdom of heaven on earth. And that's the type of parent you'll be. That's the type of grandparent you'll be. That's the type of friend you will be. And so here's my wish for you, is that you experience the peace and the healing that comes from the perfect love of God that's described by Jesus here. A God who loves and pursues and embraces and never gives up and is never shocked by your behavior or your thoughts, is never going to offer you shame, is never going to harm you. And some of us had fathers who reflected that love of God beautifully, and some of us had fathers who did not, but most of us experienced some mixture of both. But Jesus invites us to imagine a divine parent whose love is never limited by fear or shame or disappointment or rejection. And so as we come to the table today, as we come to the communion table, I'm going to stand right here. And if you need a hug today as an expression of that love, you're invited to come and get one. Today is Free Pastor Hug Day. It happens but once every 4 or 5 years. But maybe you're here and you feel left out. Maybe you're here and you feel discouraged by what's happening in the world. I am not here to replace your parent. This hug does not fix things. It just simply offers a tangible experience of what I hope is unconditional love. I don't need to know what's going on in your life. You need to know you're loved. Those are two different things. I don't need to know why you need a hug. But you're loved. And I want to offer you that experience today. And perhaps a simple hug can be an experience of a love that is bigger than you or I could possibly imagine. So, we come to the table today. It's a table that has been set for us and for our enemies by our Heavenly Father, who is our Heavenly Mother as well, who is our Heavenly Parent. And we come to the table today not only to experience this love as people who at times feel like enemies of God, and we feel like failures, and we feel like betrayers, and we feel like deniers. And when we feel like that, we come to the table and we drink grace and we eat mercy and we are renewed. But we also come to the table today as peacemakers, desperate to learn to love our enemies, needing the body of Christ to nourish us and strengthen us for that, and the love of Christ and the blood of Christ to do that. And so today, the body of Christ broken for you, the blood of Christ shed for you, and a hug that might offer some hope of healing in your life today. Would you stand with me this morning as we sing this and have communion together?
Love is able to provide. Love is faithful in perfect time. There's goodness overwhelmed.
right. It's good. Okay, go ahead and have a seat. We're going to get you out of here in just a second. I only have one more week of getting to speak as long as I want, and the only people that get upset with me are the children's workers. So I gotta calm that down. So in just a moment, I'm gonna invite our room hosts forward, and they're gonna pick up those baskets and collect your Connect cards and your donations. Thank you so much for your generosity and pens. If you're sitting in the bleachers, you can drop those in the orange kiosks on your way out. But I want to talk about what's happening over the next couple of weeks. So we're making the move to 2 services in our new facility there at the Metro Lux starting July 19th. So we have double the opportunities to volunteer, right? So you'll find details about each of the volunteer opportunities inside the Crossroads app. If you don't have the Crossroads app, download it. What's wrong with you, okay? Get the Crossroads app, and then under the Connect section, it'll say volunteer, and you can see all the different volunteers, and they're organized by priority and commitment. So you can see like really what our urgent needs and the different commitment levels, timing-wise, like how often, things like that. And you'll find a listing of just the high priority on the homepage of the app. So you'll see that right there. And so you can sign up through the app or check the box on your Connect card to get that started. Now, there's some other check boxes on the Connect card to join the packing and the disposal team that's happening right now. Check that box. Somebody will be in contact with you. Want to encourage everybody to join the Moving Mayhem team. So on July 6th through the 8th, we're going to be getting this place ready to move and transition, and there'll be different shifts. Check that box. We'll get in communication with you. We'll figure out a time and something that you can do to help, because we know not everybody can lift boxes and things like that, but there's always something for everyone. That's on us as the folks that are organizing that to do that. So we'd love to have everybody come out. Great time of community building, being together. Don't forget to write down your you asked for it sermon request. You can also email that to me as well, and we'll get that on the list, okay? So I'm going to invite our room hosts to come forward, and they're going to collect those baskets. And while they're doing that, inside your program is that card, the fridge card. So pull that out. I just want to walk through that real quick while they're collecting the baskets. Grab that card so you can see all the things that are happening. It lays out the schedule for the rest of the summer as we know it right now. Things are going to change, okay? But here's what we know right now. Next weekend is our final Sunday here, and then we have a corporate move. They happen all the time, okay? So this is our last Sunday here. We have our regular 10 a.m. gathering. Then the fun really begins, okay? So July 5th, that weekend, July 4th weekend is online only. So tune in, check the broadcast. Can I make just a very honest request of you? Thank you. That was a question, okay? If Crossroads is your church in this season, if you're used to coming and making your donation here, please, 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 please continue to help your church by giving online. I'm not attaching it to God's blessing in your life. I have no idea if you give regularly, if something good's going to happen to you that week, all right? I do happen to believe that generosity changes us, but that's another sermon. But I'm talking to those of us who this is our church. We give when we're here. We're not going to be here. It's going to be challenging. So if you haven't transitioned to automate your giving, do that. It's amazing. I haven't thought about giving regularly in a decade because it just happens. It's the best ever. Imagine if you could automate your attendance to church. That would be phenomenal. Okay, now here's the thing. So just please do that. Now, Moving Mayhem is then on July 6th through the 8th. That's after the online-only weekend. And then the following Sunday, July 12th, is our sneak peek. All right, and that sneak peek is going to be from, what does it say there? I think it's 9:30 to 11, right? 9:30 to 11. Come on out. You're going to get to see all kinds of fun stuff. But before that, on the 10th, that Friday night, is a benefit concert for Loveland Community Kitchen. And we want to make that a success. And this is a great opportunity for us to connect as a community in this weird transition. So mark your calendars, bring out a lawn chair, bring your phone. You'll have a QR code you can scan before the night or that night. You can make a donation directly to the community kitchen. There's no tickets, but we do encourage everybody to make a donation. A Brothers Found, which is a very cool bluegrass band, is playing that night, 7 to 8:30. Come out, get ice cream downtown, go eat, whatever, bring the kids. It's going to be a lot of fun. That's on Friday night. And then Saturday is sneak peek. Come check out the new digs and see where kids are checked in, all that good stuff. We're going to have breakfast, so that's going to be a lot of fun, okay? That's what's happening. And then the following week, we start with our 2 services, 9 and 10:30. And as Kia said, we're not sure like when live music's going to start back up. You need to download the app because we're not printing programs for a season. The printer's going to be in storage while we get all this stuff worked out. So make sure you have the app because there will be no programs. Okay. Now all I have is the blessing. So stand up. We'll get you out of here. In the atrium are root beer floats today to just celebrate dads or the day. Maybe you feel like your dad isn't worth celebrating. I get it. But let's celebrate the day and celebrate the dads worth celebrating and celebrate a God whose love is perfect. All right? So here's your blessing. If you want to lift up your arms to receive it as you head out, may you go into this week knowing that you are deeply loved, and may you release the burden of deciding who's worthy and who's not, and may you leave behind the exhausting work of judgment and discover, again, the freedom of grace, and may the divine love revealed in Jesus heal every wound left by rejection and shame or fear. And may that love speak louder than every voice that has told you that you are not enough, that you are not welcome, or that you are not worthy. And may you remember that the sun still rises and the rain still falls on all of us. And may we learn to see ourselves and our neighbors and even our enemies through eyes of compassion. And when life tempts us to return to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, may we instead choose the path of the peacemaker, choosing kindness over certainty, curiosity over condemnation, and love over fear. So go as a beloved child of the divine, go as a child of love, and a child of a love that never ends, a grace that never gives up, a hope that is always making all things new. Amen. Have an amazing day, everyone.
It will give you eyes, give you hope, it'll give you perspective. I've been back and forth, and yeah, I had my crashes. Now I've seen the road, it goes every direction. Oh, there are stories to tell, times we grew and the times we